My name's Dixon. I'm a freshman at Charleston Southern University, and I do spoken word.
Stand, be a warrior for Christ. You know how the plot goes. You can
How I got into spoken word is actually a funny story because I write Christian raps, and one time I had to perform somewhere, and I realized I'd written this whole rap out, and I realized I didn't have a track to go with it. So I was like, okay, how can I make this work? So I rearranged it, like made the phrases end in different places, changed the word of syllables I emphasized, and I just performed it a cappella, and somebody came up to me afterwards and was like, hey man, that was great spoken word. And up to that point, I really didn't even know what spoken word was. I thought I was just rapping without music. What I feel compelled to talk about is, you know, just looking around, especially on campus and everything, and just my generation is a lot of, there's a lot of hopelessness. I feel like they're just in everybody, whether they show it or not. When it comes down to the core of it, when you really get talking to people, you just feel a sense of hopelessness. And what I write about, the only thing I write about, is where I find my hope, and that's in Jesus Christ. So that's it. And it all comes down. There's a lot of topics in that, but when it comes down to it, that's all I write about. I have to say my biggest influences, as far as music goes, is definitely, you know, Lecrae, The Truth. Especially, I'd probably say the biggest one for me is the cross movement. Back in the day, they really changed the way I viewed music and the way I viewed life, really. And it kind of showed me, because I didn't listen to really Christian hip hop before my dad introduced me to cross movement, and it showed me that you can still do hip hop and be like a Christian. It doesn't, they're one and the same. They don't have to be separate. What if I told you that life is just a picture inside of a frame, and that inside of this frame, not only do our names not matter, but neither do the insignificant dreams that we conjure up. That is, if little stick figures like us could even conjure up anything that we view in this portrait. You see, in the top left-hand corner, I see a boy about 8 years old, stealing candy from his little brother, then turning around and stealing money from the purse that belongs to his dying mother. In the opposite corner, I see a girl who's never felt loved, but wants to love. That is, if an unloved girl could even cook up love in the first place. Yes, I know I'm starting to get all in your face, and you're looking at me like, please, no, stop, but get the point. But see, you haven't even heard my thesis statement. I could go on for years putting this question in the ears of my peers. If this picture was all there is, then where was the hope? All I see is people addicted to coke, backstabbing their families and friends, hearts filled with strife. To the blind eye, it would appear that it is raining and it is always midnight. Everybody's in the dark, just drowning in their sin, but then we look at him, the painter of this painting, the author of our autobiographies. He looks at his son, the light beaming in, he sees the whole picture. He stands there, smiling like a father smiles at his son who's freaking out. Daddy, Daddy, there's a bee in here. Why aren't you doing anything? I thought you would protect me and all that I am. But see, while he's freaking out, he missed that the dad already grabbed the bee and took the stinger out in the palm of his hand. I look at the picture again. Yes, it will look dark in some moments, and yes, 100% of people will at times feel broken. That's a fact. But see, if our lives are always intact, we wouldn't need grace and we wouldn't have any to give back. And see, you still might not get the picture, but that's the point. Grace is inconceivable. Sometimes we just won't get it, but I find this to be true, that when we finally see grace, we see hope. Hope that there's more than what we see in this world of stick figures. Hope that we can overcome our strongest addictions. Hope that we can do anything, because hope comes from His grace, and His grace is sufficient. That's the only way He was able to get up on that tree and say to us and to the rest of eternity with one masterful stroke of His paintbrush, it is finished.
Been on step 1 foot in to the local church, cause it caters to a woman's